I said, hey, yo, what is going on, guys? It's your boy MoHodls, and we're back with another video. Today, we're going to be talking about everything Bitcoin. And I actually want to start this video off by jumping into some on-chain metrics, guys. Right here, just looking at the Bitcoin network. I mean, people who are holding one Bitcoin is at an all-time high at 1,006,331 people. And that's quite insane to think about, right? I mean, this thing is just going parabolically for the most part. And then when you look at the 10, 100, and 1,000, there's not really, as much of a jump in the 1 BTC. So it will take some time for those to also jump. But even Bitcoin hash rate, this is also hit a high recently. Now, granted, it is correcting, but as you guys can see here, for the most part, it's on an uptrend. Even if it corrects a little bit, that's not bad. But still, to me, the most craziest thing here is this one right here. 1+ year HODL wave. So basically what this represents is basically like people who bought Bitcoin and held for over a year. Like you just don't touch their Bitcoin, right? And basically 69.22% of Bitcoin holders have not touched or moved their Bitcoin or sold it in basically a year, which is actually quite insane to think about. Like that is some serious conviction from Bitcoin holders. So if you look at it from an on-chain side, that is very, very bullish. Now I want to jump into some of the charting stuff, but right now, as we look at it, I mean, there was a recent time where, like, I think the transaction fees was pretty high because of the layer 2, I think it was called stacks, that went up. And allegedly there was like this whole thing about, trying to get rid of L2s for whatever reason. But, I mean, Bitcoin is currently trading at what, 30,634 bucks. And we've been talking about it here on this channel every single month. And as you guys are aware, back in February and even December, we actually sniped the low. Now, I've made a video on that. You guys can go check out that video in December. And also, we sniped the top actually in January. We called pretty much the 25K high, which is also on my channel. All the stuff is there for you guys to see if you want to take a look at why we assumed like those highs. And again, I just kind of go over the same charts because at the end of the day, this like techno analysis is not supposed to be something that's very difficult, right? Over the past 6 years I've been in this market, I've actually became more and more simple with my, strategy, right? Like a lot of indicators are not good, right? Understanding the, like the idea of how ranges and liquidity is probably more important than trying to learn certain patterns, right? Like understand that at the end of the day, no matter what happens, patterns don't always repeat. But guess what? There will always be a liquidity tap, right? And that's kind of how we were able to catch this 2023 bottom here, right? And again, you can see here that there's always a range, right? And there's always a liquidity tap where price falls out of the range, trapping short sellers and then going higher. Now every single time it's different. As you guys can see here, there's a long range and then a tap at the end of the range. This one in 2017 had a tap at the beginning of the range and then it continued to chop. And in 2023 you saw the tap in the middle of the range. So basically what you guys can see is each bottom is different. It's not ever going to be the same because market makers do not want to make it easy. And it's the same thing for the top, right? Now some people think this wasn't the cycle top. I personally believe that that was a cycle top. We've seen 4 years pretty much, each cycle. But hey, listen, I'm open to all ideas, but I'm going to be, again, sharing with you guys why I think that the local bottom has already been put in, right? We've literally called the bottom. There's proof on Twitter there. And so, again, we do this over time, and I'm going to share with you guys what I think is coming next and what the current close that we saw, last week. It's just like, this is just extremely bullish, right? What you have here is simple support and resistance trading. Don't make it complicated, right? You basically see this low. Oops, that's not the right indicator. Let's get that out the way. Basically what you see here is a range low. Price falls under it, it gets reclaimed, and again it gets back up at this resistance, which is over here. And then of course you see a rejection and something. If you guys are paying attention, guys, I'm gonna drop some gems for you right now. Pay attention. Resistances do not break on the first try. Supports do not break on the first try. However, if you see a rejection and you do see a bullish retracement, right? And a bullish retracement, again, a retracement completely different in many ways. But if you see a bullish retracement, guess what? You're gonna see that high be retested. And what you see is that we get that retracement, and I'm not going to go into a whole explanation on that because I'm going to make this video too long. But you see pretty much price action break through it. Now, again, this is the same exact story. Resistances do not break on the first try. This is what you're seeing right over here. Or you can even actually say this is an order block, the 1 week order block, which I have mapped out on another chart. But this is pretty much the 1 week order block. So mark that. That's a resistance. And what you see is that we get into the resistance, and guess what? This becomes a support now. The area that used to be a resistance is a support. And you're gonna see that again. What did we see? A bullish retracement right here again. This is your resistance, just like it was back here in 25K, right? We get up to the resistance, we get rejected like we did back over here, and then it comes down to a retracement, just like it did in this area. And now we're seeing a lot of momentum. Look at this green candle, right? You have to look and measure this momentum, right? You can clearly see that this candle is extremely, extremely bullish because of how it closes, how much momentum there is behind the move. And even when you look at things like the RSI, like, yes, there is like probably some bearish divergence, 100%. But at the end of the day, it's going to probably acquire more of a chop. Like, it's not going to be as simple as a bearish divergence and then that's it. I do believe that there's going to be more of a chop because it wouldn't just be as simple as that, or especially with that kind of momentum and with all the narratives we've seen at Bitcoin ETF, we've seen, BlackRock, Fidelity, Invesco, Wisdom Tree. I think it was like a bunch of other guys jumping in as well. But even the EDX markets announcement from Fidelity, Charles Schwab, and Citadel, their own announcement of launching an exchange is just bullish for Bitcoin because at the end of the day, they're announcing pretty much listing 4 coins, and I believe all of them are Bitcoin forks, which again, it just brings all the attention to Bitcoin. People think of Bitcoin first when they think of crypto. So that's kind of why you're seeing a lot of momentum. And I think the momentum will continue to the upside here. And, again, my idea will actually be is somewhere over here around 35K. And I want to be talking about that as well. But I want to move on to this chart over here. And this is your halvening chart. It's important to keep in mind that in history, we've seen there's always a retracement either like around the halvening, right? Whether it's happened already or it pretty much is on the way, right? So what do I mean by that? Okay, so again, remember, everything's not going to be exactly the same as it was before because as you guys can see, every single cycle is different. You get a blow off top back in 2013, you get a blow off top back in 2017, but you get a double top over here in 2021. So Bitcoin is not always going to do the same exact thing every single cycle and be as obvious, as 1, 2, 3, right? And even over here, right? People were saying, oh, Bitcoin's never hit a previous all-time high. Guess what? That was invalidated as well. So do not expect things to play out exactly the same because you will be disappointed. And like I said earlier, right? Trading is all about liquidity because at the end of the day, your stop losses are pretty much fuel for them to make more money, right? So at the end of the day, it's just something to consider, not something to just blindly believe. You must use a lot of different tools, if you will, to come to any conclusion, right? Let's be serious for a second. You never want to use one indication to try to say this is why I believe it, and then have no risk management. But anyways, I feel like I was on a rant there. What you see here in each cycle is pretty much like a retracement at the halvening or after the halvening. So basically in 2012, you saw that there was a minor retracement prior from what, $14 all the way down to like $7, which is pretty much a 50% retracement. And then price goes up. But that was before the halvening. And then back in 2016, price goes up into the halvening and then it retraces as we go into the halvening. So that's an example of pretty much, how the halvening could lead to a retracement. And back in 2020, which most of us remember, right, if you've been around, is that we saw a big crash prior to the halvening, right? And then after that, the halvening was pretty much the number one narrative about Bitcoin pretty much being, the block rewards being split. And then guess what? You see a big move to the upside following that halving announcement. So now, where are we right now? And the big question is, I believe that we're probably going to get up to around 35K. And then from there, we'll probably have a retracement. Now, I don't know how deep that retracement will be, but I do believe we're pretty much playing and kind of grabbing people in for a bigger retracement, because at the end of the day, I do believe that the halving is something that is like spoken about a lot, but we usually do pump into these like halving announcements, but there's always some type of black swan event that plays out. So it will be interesting to see how much more momentum there is behind this move. But even over here, guys, this is another chart I like to share, because even though I am bullish on Bitcoin, you can't ignore the circumstances of this chart. And now for my Elliott waivers who really understand, like this is a clear 5 waves up, right? Basically, wave 1 is 4 years, 700 days, cool. And then wave 2 is also about 700 to 800 days. And from wave 4, you see about 600 days. Now, in an Elliott wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up, what you must understand is that whenever you start seeing weakness in the trend, which is basically the first time we've seen it in 2022, like the A wave crossing into number 3 right here. So there's always 3 moves up. That's your first sign that the market is pretty much, starting to lose strength. And again, it's a hint. It doesn't mean that it's exactly going to play out that way. But I want to show you guys this photo right here, okay? And this is really important to understand. So again, like, I hate to say it, but it's possible that Bitcoin could retrace a lot more, and this whole move up can be completely retraced. But listen and hear me out, okay? Because at the end of the day, I like to look at this situation, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it's something that you must consider, because like when you saw pretty much wave A cross into wave 3 territory, this is something that you see over here. And that's the first sign that this trend is starting to basically end for Bitcoin. That doesn't mean that Bitcoin's not going to go up again, ever again. It just means that this is a bigger retracement, part of a bigger, bull trap that's going to take longer to play out. Right? It's not going to be as simple as a 1, 2, 3 move up. Everybody thinks, it's going to be perfect and blah, blah, blah. No, this is going to be, a very dirty bull trap if it plays out the way I expect. And the reason why I have this gray box here is simply because I believe this is a really big order block on the 2-month. Let me see. Yeah, I think this is a 2-month or a 3-month order block. Let me try to find out which month. Yeah, so this is a 6-month order block. That's why I have that. Or actually, it might be, there you go. Actually, so it's a 1-year order block. So basically, long story short, you can look at that area as a lot of trading volume that took place in here. You can also probably use, the volume nodes, which is basically like not really looking good there. But long story short, a lot of trading happened in this gray box. So what that could mean is that in this area, there will be some type of retracement. It's not going to break the first time. Remember, like I said earlier in the video, resistances do not break on the first try. And long story short, you will see some type of retracement in this area. So again, like, be really cautious in this box. If we are able to reclaim it, good. But I am, gonna look at this and probably give you guys warnings at this time when everyone is screaming bullishness, and expecting all-time highs. Listen, I'm all for it, but I'm gonna exercise caution and maybe even take some profits here right before all this takes place. And guys, again, I am someone who was extremely bullish at 15K, but I can't ignore the circumstances here that this could be 5 waves up, and also again could be a trap. Now also, I want to say that an ABC correction doesn't necessarily need to be a zigzag, which is basically something like this. It could be a triangle, which basically plays out like this, right? Where it could be an A, B, C, D, E, like that, right? That's possible. So it does not have to necessarily play the way I'm drawing it, but it is still an area that I'm watching because of retracement levels. So again, for this to be considered a zigzag, it cannot cross the 48,161 level, because zigzags do not retrace above the 61.8 region. So we'll have to watch that. But something that I want to put on you guys' radar, you don't necessarily have to believe it's going to play out, because we must have a lot of patience with these charts. But looking at Bitcoin dominance, something else that's really, really important, because someone who is buying Bitcoin, I have a small holding myself, I believe that at the end of the day, whether you want to stack sats, whether you want to scalp or swing Bitcoin, you must be very, very, strategic. And Bitcoin dominance is another chart that is very, very helpful for pretty much stacking sats. And what you guys can see over here is that in the last bear market, Bitcoin reclaimed all of its dominance. But this is another thing. Bitcoin didn't reclaim that dominance in the 2022, 2021 cycle. All it did is chop sideways. Now, right now, as is reclaimed dominance, this is pretty much a sign to me that the bottom was put in a while ago. And now we're pretty much watching for some type of reclaim rejection and pretty much like alt season following it. Right now, granted, it might be still too early to call for an alt season. However, for me, the confirmation would be watching this level at 49% get rejected again. So it's all about patience. I think that Bitcoin will continue to go up, but it doesn't mean that you can't stack sats. It doesn't mean you can't rotate into alts that look good on BTC pairs. So it's just something to watch. It's an additional layer of tools that you can add to your arsenal. But again, it's completely at your own discretion. And the final thing that tells me that the bottom was already put in for Bitcoin a while ago was the total chart. And this is another one that's extremely bullish for me because all the way back in August of 2022, I pretty much said that liquidity was taken from both sides. And as you guys understand, range traders especially understand when liquidity is taken from one side and it's taken from the other, pretty much, the reclaim is the only thing you're waiting for. And basically it took what is this? It's about to be a whole year of ranging almost. And I kind of, meme in between. I give updates because at the end of the day, we're watching these levels. We're waiting for reclaims. And again, it's all a game of patience. It's really all it is. So if you've been dollar cost averaging to high quality alts, good for you. But at the end, I pretty much just spoke about, how the bottom was already put in and how we're pretty much reclaiming the low here at 1.13 trillion. And now we're pretty much going up, right? So in my opinion, the bottom was already put in. You're seeing the bottom being put in for alts. And I believe that Bitcoin will continue to go up. And until we see a rejection back at the 49.6 level or the 48.96, whatever this area is, until it comes back lower and rejects here, that's when you'll probably see alt season really happen. The 20, 30Xs take place. And, maybe a good time to consider rotating out of BTC. But again, there will always be new narratives, lots of fun to watch. And as we head into this next cycle, I believe the ETF announcement will probably be the top, but we'll see how that all plays out. I appreciate you guys for making it to the end of the video. If you can like and subscribe, it really does help the algorithm. And as always, hodl, hodl, hodl. Peace.